Echelon form of matrix. We are going to learn this form of matrix and bring the regular form of matrix to the echelon form of matrix. Why do we need it? Because this form is going to help us to solve a system of linear equations using the method of Gauss. Okay? So let's learn what is special, how do we form this type of matrix. So this type of matrix is kind of reflect the stepped shape of matrix. Let's assume we have 4 by 4 matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, looks like. Okay, so I'm going to shade. One. Let me get thicker one. This is one. This is second one. It goes by diagonal. Third one. And we need the fourth one. So let me okay. So this is going to be the fourth one. So if you see, this looks like step matrix. Okay, now underneath these empty rows, those are zeros. Okay, those are zeros. These ones on this side, we have some numbers. It can be any numbers or zero. Okay, 1, and then the second one, 2, and then third one. And then here we have 2 of them. And then here. Okay, so we have here 1, 2. So this kind of shaded cells, those are like I said, arbitrary numbers that can be either 0 or non-zero. Empty cells, those are zeros at the 0 element of the matrix. Okay, and black squared, those are non-zero element which are called corner element. And this type of matrix we call echelon matrix. Let me bring example. I'm going to bring example. So we have -1, 2, 0, 1. Then we have 0. This is 5, 1, 3, let's say. And then we have 0, 0. Here we have 3 and 2. And we have 0, 0, 0. Here we have 8. So look at this. It looks like step matrix. That's what we call echelon. Okay, and this is matrix A. All right, this is what we are going to work on. Have regular matrix, meaning all these cells are filled out, and bring to the format of echelon, whereby diagonal is going to be corner elements, in this case negative 1, 5, 3, 8. If you look at the picture, it's matching pattern. And to the right side, we have either 0 on or non-zero numbers. So how we're going to bring matrix to the echelon form. There are few operations we need to know. Number one, we need to be able to rearrange lines, rows, meaning to, let's say, move the row number 1 or line number 1 moves as the first one, or swap third line with the fourth line, and so on. Okay? Rearrange lines. That's one of them we can do, or rows, as a matter of fact. It's the same thing, right? Second one, we have to be able to add one line to another. Add or subtract lines. Let's say first one with second one, third one with fourth one, and so on. And at the second and the third one, we should be able to multiply any line by number, by scalar number. Okay? Those operations we are going to work with. So to transfer matrix to echelon form matrix. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to get the matrix 4 by 4. And we have 2, 3, negative 1, and 2. 1, 2, negative 1 and 1. And we have 4, 5, negative 3 and 4. And lastly, last row is 1, 0, negative 1, and 1. This is our matrix, and we need to bring this matrix to the form of echelon matrix. So let's not to forget, we are going to be guided by these 3 possible operations that we need. So what is our goal? How we are going to start? So we are going to keep these numbers we call corner numbers, and get rid of these numbers below this leading coefficient. This coefficient we call leading, 2, 2, negative 3, 1. Below there has to be these empty zeros. We have to get zeros, and the upper corner we leave it alone. Now, what is interesting, it's always, that's at the nuts and bolts area, always make sure you have this first leading coefficient, this one, you have it as a 1. Why do we need that? Because later on when we do operations, add or subtract, we will avoid to get fractions, okay? It's very helpful. So at this point, and I'm going to write down the steps I'm going to complete. So step number 1, I'm going to swap row 1 with row 2. Okay, here we have, those are row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Okay, all right, let me clean it so you will know. First one, second one, third one, and fourth one. And because my second row start with 1, so I'm going to switch with positions, right? The second row will gonna go in the position of first one, and first one is gonna go in the position of second one. This way I will have this one moving up as a leading coefficient. So I'm going to interchange R2 with R1. And what am I going to get here? 1, 2, negative 1 and 1. And here I'm getting 2, 3, negative 1 and 2. Okay, 4, 5, negative 3 and 4, 1, 0, negative 1 and 1. So let me change the color of these two so you would know we did operation over these two. There we go. Okay, we got that. So now my task is get 0 under this one. Get underneath all zeros, right? Look here. This is the black one. It's a leading coefficient. Underneath, we have to have all zeros. So I'm going to work on further changes to get 0 under this one. What am I going to do? So when will I get 0 instead of these 2? When will I get 0? If I have in the first position 2, in the first line leading coefficient, instead of 1, if I get 2, and subtract from each other. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get that 0. Look at this guidance. I can add lines and I can multiply one line only by scalar number. So I'm going to multiply first row by 2, okay, and subtract from the second one. Why from the second one? Because result is going to be written where the second one is. You are reducing second line, so result is going to be in the second line. You are reducing first line, result is going to be where second line is. And rewrite in R2. Okay, let's see what we're going to get. So R2 minus 2R1. Okay, so I'm going to write down here, if I multiply R1 by 2, I'm going to get here 2, here I'm going to get 4, negative 2, and positive 2, right? Now we need to subtract R2 minus this 2R1, which is these 2, I'm going to subtract, minus these 2, okay? So let's do it. So 2 minus, let me write down first the line first. 1, 2, negative 1 and 1. I'm not keeping it with multiplied 1. I'm just keeping the row 1, line 1, the way it is. But here is I put multiplication by 2, put the result, so it would be easy to operate. But this multiplication, it doesn't affect the first line at all. It stays the way it is. It's going to affect the second line because we do R2 minus twice R1, and we write down where R2 is, which means I'm going to change here the color. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Then 3 minus 4, it's going to be what? Negative 1. Next, I do negative 1 minus negative 2. It's going to be positive 1. And lastly, I'm doing 2 minus 2, right? And it's going to be 0. Okay, so the rest I'm writing down the way it is. 4, 5, negative 3, 4, 1, 0, negative 1, and 1. Okay, we are moving slowly but surely. We got the 0 under 1. All right, now let's say make 0 the first number in the third row, because we need to have all zeros underneath, right? Those are all zeros. So we got leading coefficient, and underneath in the column gonna get all zeros. So what we are going to get, we have 4. How to get 0 from this 4? Looking at what I did to row number 2, I'm going to this time take row 1 multiplied by 4 to get 4, right? Instead of 1, and then subtract from row 3 and write down in the row 3. Look, R3 minus 4 times R1. Why previously was twice, here is 4 times? Because I need to have 4, right? Here is 4. All right, and writing down where R3 is. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we are going to multiply by 4. So it's going to be 4, 8 by 4. Negative 1 times 4, negative 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Let me clean this once, or well, okay, let it stay. So we have 4, 8, negative 4, negative, and 4. Now I'm going to subtract R3 minus this 4 times R1. So 4 minus 4. It's going to be, hold on. It's going to be R3 minus 4R1. So let me write down the line. First line doesn't change. 1, 2, negative 1, and 1. Here I get 0, negative 1, 1, and 0. Now this one is going to be new. So third line minus first line. So 4 minus 4 is going to be 0. So I'm getting next 0 here. And then 5 minus 8, I'm going to get how much? Negative 3. Next, I'm going to take negative 3 minus negative 4. It's going to be negative 3 plus 4, and result is going to be 1. And doing 4 minus 4, okay, which is giving me 0. Okay, and the last one, now we need to get 0, the last row. So let me write down 1, 0, negative 1, and 1. Okay, so what am I going to do with the last one? I have 1. So here I have 1. In the first line I have 1 anyway, so looks like I don't need to multiply any row by any number. All I have to do, row 4 minus row 1. Yes? Step number 4. R4 minus R1. All right, okay. So let's see what we are getting here. Let me write down. So this is continuing, this is also continuing to here. R4 minus R1. So I'm going to write down first 1, 1, 2, negative 1, 1, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, negative 3, 1 and 0, 1, 0, negative 1, and okay, 1. I guess, okay, I'm not going to write down because I'm going to fill out with this difference, R4 minus R1. So, this 1 minus this 1, right? It's going to be 0. Okay, this 0 minus 2, it's going to be negative 2. Next, negative 1 minus negative 1, it's going to be 0, because negative 1 minus negative, it's going to be negative 1 plus 1. And lastly, 1 minus 1. One minus 1, and we are getting 0. Okay, so as you can see, I got all 0 under leading coefficient, leading number 1. All right, now we are moving to do the same thing with the second leading number. So we are going to work with the second leading number. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we have here 1, negative 1, we have this number. Now our goal is this negative 3 and negative 2 underneath, make it 0. So how I'm going to work? Since first leading coefficient was in first line, I was working everything with first line. Now the next leading coefficient become this negative 1, second line. So I'm going to work with this second line to make it negative 3 and 2 fill out with 0. And this is what I'm going to do. Number 5, I'm going to do, let me see, R4 minus R1. I'm going to take R3 minus, how much I have to multiply? So to subtract this minus this and get 0, I have to negative 1 multiply by 3, right? So it's going to be minus 3 times R2. Okay, so what do we get? Since this is, I have 0, so okay, I can write down here 0, because negative 3 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 3, I'm getting negative 3. 1 times 3, I'm getting 3. And 0 times 3, I'm getting 0. Okay, so next step, I'm going to subtract R3, because I need this one I need to multiply second row by 2, so let's do it. This is going to be 0, 0 times 2, negative 1 times 2, it's going to be negative 2. 1 times 2, it's going to be 2. And here is going to be 0. And then we are going to subtract first row minus second row. Okay, let's see. So 0 minus 0, we are getting 0. Next, negative 2 minus negative 2. It is going to be 0 again, right? Because we end up with negative 2 plus 2. Next, 0 minus 2. It's going to be negative 2. And 0 minus 0, it's going to be 0. Okay, So we are good with the second leading number and underneath 0. Now we need to work on with this leading number. See, look. And underneath we have 0. Now we are working with this -2. Underneath also -2. This -2, we need to make it 0, which is very straightforward. Now, if my leading number is becoming -2, which is line 3, that means now I have to manipulate everything around line 3. Let's do it. So I have -2 in the fourth line here underneath, and here I have -2. Yeah, that means all I have to do is just subtract. I don't need to multiply anything by anything. So R4 minus R3, and that's it. So write down 1, 2, -1 and 1, 0, -1, 1 and 0. Here we get 0, 0, -2 and 0. Okay, now we need to subtract. Let's do it. Line 4 minus line 3. So we are getting, first one is going to be 0. Second, 0 minus 0, also 0. Here we get -2 minus -2. We will end up -2 plus 2. It's going to be 0. And we have 0 minus 0, which is also 0. This is, we have echelon form by diagonal. We have numbers. Okay, so below on the left, left down corner, we have all zeros. And the right upper corner is we have all numbers. So this is, we got echelon form, and we are using this echelon form to solve system of linear equations using Gaussian method. I will solve it in upcoming next video. I believe next one I'm going to do next recording is going to be reduced echelon form. It's the same form like this one. So instead of any number as a step by diagonal, we are going to have ones everywhere. Instead of this -1, -1, -2, and 0, we are going to have all ones. That will be our reduced echelon matrix. Okay, I'll see you in next video. Get 0, this one. Okay, therefore, this is what I'm going to do. So, writing down R3 minus 3 times R2. How do I know by how much I have to multiply? I have here -3. Obviously, to get 0 instead of -3, this second row I have to have here 3, right? So -1 I have to multiply by -3 will be, multiply by 3, I'm sorry. No, let me clean by 3. Okay, so to get 0, all right? So, and we are going to get 1, 2, -1 and 1. We don't touch first line, obviously. Second one also we don't touch, but we are using this -1 becomes our leading coefficient now. Okay, so 0 minus this 0, right? It's going to be 0. Let me write down. Next, -3 minus -3. It's going to be -3 plus 3. It's going to be 0. Okay, we got this 0 that we wanted. Next, 1 minus 3. It's going to be -2. And 0 minus 0, well, it's going to be 0. And I'm rewriting the fourth line. 0, -2, 0, and 0. Okay. Next I need to convert into 0 these two, right? -2, because this one is my leading coefficient, I mean leading number now. So below they have to be 0. Okay. So at this point, what we are going to do, step number 6, I'm going to take to get negative to 0. I have to have, instead of -1, I have to have 2, right? Okay, so I'm going to do R4 minus twice R2. Why twice? Because I have here 2, so I need coefficient 2 there. All right, so, and what we are going to get from here, let's write down. It's time consuming, but that's matrix, you can't do anything. We are going to use this to solve system of linear equations, -2. Okay, so we have 1, 2, -1, and 1. We have 0, -1, 1, and 0. We have 0, 0, -2 and 0. Now with green color, I'm going to do changes in the fourth line. So R4 minus twice R2. Let me make twice R2. I need to multiply second row by 2. So let's do it. This is going to be 0. 0 times 2. -1 times 2, it's going to be -2. 1 times 2, it's going to be 2. And here is going to be 0. And then we are going to subtract first row minus second row. Okay, let's see. So 0 minus 0. We are getting 0. Next, -2 minus -2. It is going to be 0 again, right? Because we end up with -2 plus 2. Next, 0 minus 2. It's going to be -2. And 0 minus 0, it's going to be 0. Okay, so we are good with the second leading number and underneath 0. Now we need to work on with this leading number. See, look. And underneath we have 0. Now we are working with this -2. Underneath also -2. This -2, we need to make it 0, which is very straightforward. Now, if my leading number is becoming -2, which is line 3, that means now I have to manipulate everything around line 3. Let's do it. So I have -2 in the fourth line here underneath, and here I have -2. Yeah, that means all I have to do is just subtract. I don't need to multiply anything by anything. So R4 minus R3, and that's it. So write down 1, 2, -1, and 1, 0, -1, 1, and 0. Here we get 0, 0, -2, and 0. Okay, now we need to subtract. Let's do it. Line 4 minus line 3. So we are getting, first one is going to be 0. Second, 0 minus 0, also 0. Here we get -2 minus -2. We will end up -2 plus 2. It's going to be 0. And we finally have 0 minus 0, which is also 0. This is we have echelon form, by diagonal we have numbers. Okay, so below on the left left down corner we have all zeros, and the right upper corner is we have all numbers. So this is, we got echelon form, and we are using this echelon form to solve system of linear equations using Gaussian method. I will solve it in upcoming next video. I believe next one I'm going to do, next recording is going to be reduced echelon form. It's the same form like this one. So instead of any number as a step by diagonal, we are going to have ones everywhere instead of this negative 1, -1, -2, and 0. We are going to have all ones. That will be our reduced echelon matrix. Okay, I'll see you in next video.